Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Tonight we're going to finish the discussion on the history of the early Earth. We have actually reached to the Cambrian period, and we're going to move a little bit after Cambrian period. Then after that, next week onwards, inshallah, we're going to look from the perspective of the Islamic tradition, from the Quranic verses and from the Hadith also. So all this time we have discussed from the scientific point of view. Okay, so next week we're going to go into the religious or the Islamic point of view. Then we're going to see how it matches between the two, between the Islamic point of view and also the scientific point of view. Okay, so let me share the screen here. We have covered, last week I've shown you some of the examples of creatures that existed during the time of the Cambrian period, which is about 560 million years ago. That is way, way before the dinosaurs era. Okay, so this was the period where it still baffles the biologists, the paleontologists, and the scientists. Why? Because that short period of time, let me show you the period of time here. These are all the examples of these wonderful, mysterious creatures. Okay, so from 600 years to 550 years, right? And from 50 to about 500 and let's say 525, 575 million years ago, So we can take it an average of 0.5 billion years ago plus minus 0.1 billion years ago, right? Plus minus 100 million before and 100 millions after that. So this short period of time witnessed an explosion of strange creatures, new, not just new species, but new, what do you call it? Phylum. Okay, look at this thing. The yellow part is the phylum. Okay, they belongs to the animal kingdom. Okay, but new phylum, and we have discussed what this phylum is all about. Right, it's just, a family of animals that share the same, almost the same characteristics. So that is phylums. Like for example, Chordata is the phylum for all animals that have that backbones or spine. So that includes fox, primates, humans. We have cats, all these sort of things, right? In fish also, it belongs to the phylum Chordata. So that is to simplify the animal kingdom. Now, during that Cambrian period, there was this explosion of new phylums which already went extinct. Many of those phylums went extinct already. It does not exist until now. So such as, for example, the animals like this belongs to a new phylum. We do not know, right? No phylum this animal cannot belong to any other known phylum right now. It has no backbones, and how many legs you have here, and spines, and where's the eye? We can't actually describe it. Colors, don't talk about the colors. Okay, this is just imagination. Colors are imagination. The shapes are important. For example, what type of phylum is this? And this animal, is this an animal or what? We can't describe the phylum for this sort of animal. And this animal also, is it a shell or a living fossil, or it's a fossil? It's a living animal? We do not know. It belongs to a new phylum. This is another one. So during this period of time, right, there was this explosion of phylums and orders. Okay, it cannot be explained by science right now, because if you want to talk about different species that we have right now, science has this mechanism that can explain why there are no different types of species, because of evolution. Okay, the micro changes in an organism, ultimately after, a million years, couple of 100 million years, then it becomes another creature, a totally new creature. So small changes, right, add together, it becomes big thing. But evolution needs millions of years. It cannot happen less than a million years. It cannot even happen within a million years. We're talking about evolution of the species, for example, from horse to donkeys or donkeys to horse, ponies. It needs millions, hundreds of millions of years. Whereas the Cambrian explosion happened in less than 100 million years, plus minus 50 million years here and there. So what actually triggers this explosion of new phylums, new creatures, unexplainable by science right now? Don't even know how they perform, how they function. We only know they were there because the fossils are there, so we can see them. But what they are, we do not know. There is no semblance to any creatures that we can find right now. Right? So many of these new creatures, it can't be explained through evolution. Because if it's through evolution, then these creatures have been existent since 1 billion years ago, or 1,000 million years ago, or maybe less than that, 600, 700 million years ago. But there was no fossils that we find, the scientists found from that age, 600 to 700 million years ago, that contains so much species. They only have simple eukaryote cells during that time. So it cannot be explained, right? Some scientists said it is because, there was this increase of oxygen. There was increase of oxygen about 600 million years ago. So what caused this spike of oxygen level from about less than 5%, about 2.5%, then suddenly it reaches to about 10 to 15. This is just, some of these estimates. It might be wrong because this is what the scientists found out from when they drilled the cores in the Antarctica. So there was a spike of oxygen, maybe about 12 to 15%. Then it continues, then it plateaus off. Then after that, there was an increase again about 400 million years ago to more than the present level, which is the red dotted line here. This is the present level, about 23% of the atmosphere is oxygen. So there was a huge spike of oxygen about 300 million years ago. Then suddenly it drops, right, to below the present level. Then it increased again. So what caused this fluctuation of oxygen content in the atmosphere? We do not know, right? Still, there's no explanation, and I don't think we can find the explanation. There are theories, but there's no definite answer because it happens in the past. It happens in the past. We can speculate, we can extrapolate, but to say that this is definitely what happened, we cannot say that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Kahfi, Ma ashadtuhum khalqas samawati wal ard wala khalqa anfusihim. We do not let them witness the moment of the creation of the heavens and the earth, and also of themselves. So those what happened in the past, the moments of creations, they were close to us. We only know from speculations, from investigations, and from probability. The probability that this happened is 90%, 95%, 99%, but to say 100% cannot. Scientifically, we cannot say that, right? But if we are religious, we, of course, from Islamic point of view, if Allah says this happened like this, and yes, that happened like that. Okay, so what caused this spike of oxygen? We don't know. So some scientists speculate that because there was an increase in level of oxygen in the atmosphere, it actually accelerate the formation of new phylums, new animals, new types of creatures that exist on this planet Earth. Somehow or other, the cells suddenly become so energized, right? And they merge together and they form a more and more complex animal. But within a short period of time, 100 million years, it might be, it might not be, we do not know. So this is just one of this convenient explanation. They try to correlate the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere with what is happening from the fossils that they found, that they saw. So because of that, they said it Cambrian. Yeah, it might be, it might not be. But one fact that we cannot deny, there was an increase of number of animals at 500 years stage here. Now that is very interesting, because you see, the age of the Earth, as what we have discovered right now, is between 4.5 to 4.6 billion years. You take out 4 billion years, right? The 4 billion years of the Earth formation, the first 4 billion years, is spent on setting the stage for Earth to receive creatures, living creatures on it, complex living creatures. Then only in the last 500 million years do we witness all these animals, huge animals walking on Earth, and plants and sort of things. You can't find it in the first 4 billion years. And that is very interesting because we're going to see from the Islamic point of view that Allah created the Earth in 4 days. So 4 billion years, 4 days. Is there any correlation between that? Of course, there should be. But what is that correlation? We're going to discover later, inshallah. Okay. So it happens about that 500 million years. And then the number of creatures keep on increasing and increasing and increasing. And suddenly there was an extinction of creatures. And that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, decreed on this earth. When when the number of creatures become more and more on this planet Earth, on the surface, there was this always a calibration, right, to reduce the number of creatures and to set the stage for new creatures to appear. So extinction of species, mass extinction of species, huge extinction of species occurred several times after the 500 million years mark, after the Cambrian explosion, which is around this period. There were a lot of extinctions, minor, big, major, but the biggest extinction occurred between the Paleozoic and the Mesozoic period of time. Now, we talk about Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic period. We have covered that, right? All these things happen in about 4 billion years. Okay, so from the start of the formation of the Earth, and then you went through the Hadean period, the hot period, and then it cooled down, become the Archean period, and then after that, formation of simple cells of life during the Proterozoic period, and then it ends with Cambrian explosion at this point of time, where you have all those myriad and wonderful, vast numbers of phylums that Allah created on this planet Earth. And after that, after Cambrian explosion, the period all the way, the last 500 million years of Earth history, the scientists call it as Fenerozoic period. From the word Fenero, Fenero means visible. It means that this period is more visible to us rather than all these 3 periods of time. So Proterozoic, Archean, Hadean is the most difficult because so many of this evidence of rocks and we don't talk about fossils, we talk about ancient rocks of Hadean period. So few of them are still being preserved on Earth planet. So Hadean is clogged in a little bit of mystery. And then after that, there was this Archean period, still, right, a little bit difficult to discover. And then Proterozoic, all these are quite difficult to discover and find rocks belonging to those era. But the Fenerozoic period has rocks that been preserved until now. So it's quite easy, right, to actually investigate and discover what happened actually during the Fenerozoic period. And that is after the 500 million years happened during the Cambrian period, for the last 500 million years until now. The word Fenero means visible. Okay, so it's visible to us. So this is a period where it's most visible to us. Now the Fenerozoic period is being broken down, geologists broken down to what you call as era. This is eon, and then it's called era. This is how geologists break down the age of the Earth. So era is what do you call it, as a subdivision of the eon. This huge eon, 500 million, and each eon is not the same as the eon before. So Hadean is about, it might be 500 million years. Archean period, it might be about 1.5 billion years, and Proterozoic period, all the way to about 2 billion years. So the age is the period of time for each eon is different. Fenerozoic is about 500 million years and continuing and counting lah. So we have 4 periods of time, right? We have Hadean, Archean, Proterozoic, and Phanerozoic period of time. But then Allah SWT also says Allah created the earth in 4 days or 4 period of time. So is that 4 period of time also the Phanerozoic, all these 4 eons? Might be, maybe not. We're going to investigate that verse from the Quran that talks about 4 days later on, inshallah. So all these eon, can be broken down to eras, but because Proterozoic, Archean, and Hadean, they are clogged in mystery, so there's no definite era that scientists can find for them. But Phanerozoic, definitely scientists can break down to 3 eras according to the the fossils that they found, right? All these the stages of fossils that they found under the earth. So they broke down to all these 3 eras. So we have the Paleozoic, Mesozoic, and Cenozoic. Paleozoic, from the word paleo, is a Greek word for ancient. So this is an ancient era. Meso, from the Greek word, means in the middle. So it is the middle era between Paleozoic and Cenozoic. Cenozoic, from the ancient Greek word, means, if I'm not mistaken, it means present, something like that, visible, something like that, Keno, right? So it is an era where it is quite visible for the scientists. Now, each of this era can be broken down into a period of time. So all these are, I'm not going to go into details, right? The Paleozoic can be broken to this, all these Cambrian, Ordovician, or whatever names, and then Mesozoic can be broken down into 3. This is famous period of time. Out of these 3, Jurassic is the most famous, made famous by that movie. If not because of that movie, not many people knows that the word Jurassic exists. So Jurassic is between Triassic and Cretaceous. Now, like I said, the extinction that happened on Earth, from what the scientists found out, the greatest extinction that happened, that destroyed most of the phylums that appeared after the Cambrian explosion 500 million years ago, those creatures went extinct in this transition between Paleozoic and Mesozoic era. So about 250 million years ago, something happened. We do not know. It might be a huge asteroid that hit the Earth. It might be super volcano that hit the Earth. It might be something else. We do not know. But it caused mass extinction of creatures on planet Earth. So that is why most of the phylums that existed, right, during the time of Cambrian explosion and all the way for 540 to 252, we can say safely it is about 300 million years of existence. 300 million years of existence of animals. Most of them went extinct. This is how Allah calibrate the earth. If it is too overpopulated, something will happen to reduce the population. We are now, right, overpopulating the earth, destroying the earth, this and that. So it will not be shocking that something will happen to calibrate the population on earth, and there will be a mass extinction. Mass extinction of human beings and mass extinction of other animals. Before, of course, Kiamat comes lah. That's why I shared with you before, right? This is my thinking, and certainly I said I might be wrong, right? But my thinking is that because the hadith mentioned that the great battles, well, the Christians call it the Armageddon, but we don't call it Armageddon. We say the great battles between Dajjal and his armies of Jews with Muslims that will become the army for Imam Mahdi and also Nabi Isa alayhi salam. The battles that happened will be using medieval weapons, spears, swords, arrows, horse, this and that. What happened to all those technologies, tanks, machine guns, missiles, nuclear bombs? What happened to all these things? Do not know. They might be wiped out. So my thing is that all this technology will be wiped out. Majority of humans will be wiped out. We have now about 7.5 billion humans on Earth. And it keeps on increasing. Projection that by the end of this century, by 2100, world population will be close to about 9 to 10 billion humans. Now, how to feed 9 to 10 billion humans on Earth? How to feed them all? That will be our grandchildren's time, I think, or great-grandchildren's time by the end of the century. So we have 80 years down the road, 8 billion, if the projection continues. And then with the climate change, it's estimated that by the middle of this century, 2050, 2060, there will be, if nothing is being done right now, and it seems that nothing is going to be achieved right now. Politics always rule the day. China and America, the two greatest polluters the two greatest polluters among the countries in this world, they cannot agree, right? They're still accusing each other because of politics. So even facing extinction, politics come first. We just look at Malaysia. It's a very good example already. Even with that rising number of COVID cases beyond 20,000, 21,000, 19,000, people still fight about politics. Who wants to become the prime minister? Let's change the government, this and that. So humans, I do not know whether humans are smart or not smart, right? So that's one thing. So there will be some extinction in the future, right? I think that there will be mass extinction among humans before the end of this century to calibrate the number of species that live on this planet Earth, because Earth has limited resources. So only limited number of passengers can be allowed to stay on planet Earth. If it is overpopulated, then something else must be done to remove, right, the overpopulation. So might be because there are extinctions happened before. So the greatest extinction, Paleozoic, Mesozoic, happened, wipe out, some scientists said, more than 90% of phylums. Imagine 90%. So what we are looking at, all this myriad of animals that we can see right now, from worms and from parasites, all these things, wonderful creatures, they are just about 10% of those phylums that Allah created 500 million years ago, that came to being. So there was no dinosaur during Paleozoic period, mind you, no dinosaurs, right? There were, of course, reptiles, but small reptiles, not huge reptiles like dinosaurs. That only happened during the Mesozoic period. So after the extinction of so many creatures, so it cleared the deck for Earth to receive new creatures. So some of these creatures that survived that extinction, reptiles, most of them, right, survived the extinction between Paleozoic and Mesozoic, they developed into huge creatures. So Triassic period is when dinosaurs started to form and get bigger, and Jurassic period is when they rule and dominate the Earth, and then towards the end of their era is the Cretaceous period. Now, from 252 to 66 million years, it means that they ruled the Earth to close to about 200 million years. Dinosaurs ruled the Earth for 200 million years, close to. And before dinosaurs, 250 million years. So all these creatures, they were on Earth for hundreds of millions of years. Cannot compare to us. Our ancient civilization, ancient Egyptian civilization, the Babylonian civilization, the earliest civilization that we have, they existed just about 6,000 years ago. 6,000, not even 10,000, not even 100,000, not even a million years. No, we are talking now about hundreds of millions of years. So if we put, the history of the Earth from 12 p.m. right to 12 a.m., if we compress the whole of Earth history in just about 12 hours, we came into being less than a second before the midnight. Our existence on this planet came just less than a second, about 0.3 seconds, 0.4 seconds before the midnight. We are very, very late, what do you call it, latecomers, but our impact is the greatest. Of all the creatures that Allah created, even greater than the huge dinosaurs, the majestic dinosaurs. They rule for 200 million years, but they do not destroy the earth. They do not pollute the earth. They kill among themselves just for food. Okay. Of course, when they walk, they destroy the trees, this and that, but they do not pollute the earth. So that's why they exist quite happily for 200 million years. They were successful creatures, all these dinosaurs. Dinosaurs means horrible lizards. That is what dinosaur means lah. But then their rule on this planet Earth came to an abrupt end at the end of the Cretaceous period, which is about 66 million years ago. And that is how this extinction, right, between the Mesozoic and the Cenozoic period here, the extinction here, scientists can fairly say with high degree of certainty and confidence that the extinction was caused by a huge asteroid about 6 to 10 kilometers long. The diameter is about 6 to 10 kilometers that fell on Earth. And it fell on the area or the sea that is just outside Mexico. How do you know that? Because from X-rays of those areas from satellites, scientists can see a huge ring under the seabed of the shore of Mexico. And the size of the ring, according to calculation, is exactly fits in the calculation that scientists did to show the extinction of the dinosaurs 66 million years ago. And then when they took the samples from the seabed and they date that samples, it is about 66 million years ago. So high degree of confidence that that was the place when where the huge asteroids that destroyed all the dinosaurs, right, landed on Earth. So there was no sea back then, might be, but it caused a huge, fire, explosion, and so much dust being thrown into the atmosphere that it covered the sky for I do not know how long. Scientists still speculate, maybe 100 years, maybe 200 years, maybe less than that. But of course, definitely when the Earth's sky is being covered by all those stars, sunlight cannot penetrate, plants die. When plants die, the herbivores die. Herbivores from among the dinosaurs die. And then when the herbivores died, of course, all those omnivores and also carnivores among the dinosaurs, they also died, and therefore Allah wipe out, right, the stage, clear the deck for new creatures to come in. And so all those creatures that survived the extinction between Mesozoic and Cenozoic, they survive, and then after that, slowly they evolve and they become more and more complex creatures. So from 66 million years to now, right, those animals survive. So among the theory by some biologists, or most biologists, they say that, well, some of the reptiles, they develop into birds, and birds develop, insects develop into mammals, right? And then mammals give rise to other creatures that we have right now. It might be that, it might be wrong, we do not know. But whatever your choice of creation, whether instantaneous or through evolution, is the work of God, the work of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It doesn't mean that evolution is beyond God's work. No. Allah has decreed that creation can take place gradually, creation can take place spontaneously. So it's like that. Just like Cambrian explosion. Gradual formation of creatures, the mechanism, the gradual formation, it cannot be applied for that Cambrian explosion of animals. So it is almost like a spontaneous creation. It might be, but there might be other examples in the future that scientists found that we do not know of. So anyway, right, again, during this period, right, we had huge creatures during the Mesozoic period, bigger than the Paleozoic period. Then after that, creatures started to get small again. Now that actually corresponds to the level of oxygen. If you look at this, right, about 250 million, so you see there's a spike of oxygen. Then after that, suddenly it drops at just the right time within the transition between Paleozoic and Mesozoic. So this extinction, right, caused the level of oxygen to drop drastically. It's a precipitous fall of oxygen level. Then after it hit rock bottom, then suddenly it picks up again, maybe because of all those, you know, the oxygen producing bacteria that produce bacteria. So after 100 million years, right, or 50 million years, then the level of oxygen started to increase again, and it crossed the threshold of 20, and it continues to increase. And from the 200, from this point of time, right to about 66 million years, which is this another drop of level of oxygen here, you have the level of oxygen which exceeds the current level of oxygen. So there's so much oxygen in Earth atmosphere, close to 30%. Of course, lesser than during this period. But because it is longer period of time, so scientists speculate that this level of oxygen actually spurred the formation of animals that were big and huge. 3 meters, 5 meters, huge creatures like dinosaurs, T-Rex, Brontosaurus, right? And all sort of those saurus animals lah. So those dinosaurs, they were huge because it might be because level of oxygen huge. Level of oxygen is a lot high in the Earth atmosphere. You know, whatever we see creatures right now that survived that extinction 66 million years ago, that transition between the, what do you call it, the Mesozoic and also the Cenozoic, this extinction, whatever creatures that exist during the Mesozoic that move on to the Cenozoic, they became small. So for example, right, we see a cockroach. Now, cockroach should be celebrated. Why? Say why celebrated? Because cockroach is one of the most successful, among one of the most successful creatures. They survived the extinction 66 million years ago. They existed during the time of dinosaurs. They survived. They can also survive a nuclear holocaust. Mind you, cockroach, very tough creatures. You can kill cockroach with all those chemicals, but they can quickly adapt, right? All these poisonous chemicals that you spray them, and it's getting less and less effective for them. So that this creature that Allah created, wonderful, this cockroach. And might be because of that, humans are scared of cockroach. Might be, right? Do not know why, because cockroach has been around for a very, very long time. Now, the fossils of cockroach were found during the time of the dinosaurs, the Mesozoic period, right? This during the spike of oxygen here, right? During the Mesozoic period. And to the surprise, not to the surprise of many, when scientists already expect that, those cockroaches, they were huge, huge cockroach. Imagine, you have a cockroach right now, which is less than about maybe 5 centimeters. At most, it's about 5 centimeters, 4 centimeters of cockroach. It's quite small, right? If they crawl, you can just step on it, make a crunchy sound. You can just kill cockroach like that. If it's fly, you can just smack it like that, right? Because it's small. You don't have to run from those flying cockroach. You just chase the flying cockroach and then you smack it. Or you see the cockroach crawling on the floor, don't run from it. Chase after the cockroach and step on it, kill it. Because it's small. But those cockroaches that existed during the Mesozoic period, easily 1/2 meter long. 1/2 meter long. Imagine you lie down, right? You cut your body into two. 3/4 of your body is 1 meter, or almost, yeah, but 2/3 of your body is 1 meter. That is how huge that cockroach is. Imagine if Allah allows cockroach to continue to be that big until now, I think people can die. Flying cockroach, 1/2 meter long. That would be the most horrible nightmare ever for some people. Okay, so those creatures back then, huge. Dragonflies, we have dragonflies now, small, just like that, about the length of our one finger. But they found fossils of dragonflies with 4 wings during the Mesozoic period, it was about that size, half a meter, 25% of a meter, 40 centimeter long, 30 centimeter long, that size, the size of, I have this ruler, here, let me take another ruler. Okay, this ruler here, 30 centimeters of ruler, might be the size of a cockroach and also the size of a dragonfly during the Mesozoic period. Subhanallah. Allah's mercy. Allah removed all these sort of creatures, right? And when they survive that extinction between the Mesozoic and Cenozoic period, they become small, right? Because the level of oxygen drops. After that 66 million years, the extinction again, you see the drop of level of oxygen in the atmosphere, it corresponds to that extinction of mass extinction of animals. So because of that asteroid that hit the earth, it burns through, because it was a huge fire, it burns through huge volume of oxygen that it actually dropped the amount of oxygen to the present level, and it remains at the present level right now at about 23%. Okay, that is level of oxygen. And it remains stable, right? We are not worried about dropping level of oxygen. We are more worried about the rising volume, the rising rate of carbon dioxide in the Earth atmosphere. Because even carbon dioxide is 0.3%, 0.4%. It has it because it is, it is what do you call it? A carbon trapped in the soil. What do you call it? The glass. I forgot. It's a heat trapping gas. Okay, greenhouse. Yeah, it's a greenhouse gas. It traps a lot of heat. So even a small increase in volume of carbon dioxide in Earth atmosphere have disastrous impact on life on Earth. Temperature would increase. But I'm sure, right, even if humans will go extinct, cockroaches will still continue to exist happily, because they can exist even in nuclear holocaust. Right? So what more, all this minute rising of temperature, we cannot. We are soft creatures, we are weak creatures. Our only strength is our brain. The rest of our body cannot compare to other animals, they are tough. So this is the continuation of the story of Earth creation, and until now, then we have glaciations, ice age, and I've shared with you, we're still in the ice age. And we are in the interglacial period, when there is a warm period within that ice age. And because there is a warm period, temperature rises, and therefore we can build civilizations. And we actually, if not because of the climate change, surely the temperature will start to drop back again, and the interglacial period will end, and we will enter another ice age, right? Because we are changing the composition of the Earth atmosphere, and so therefore we are pushing away, or we even stopping the return of the ice age. We do not know what happened in the future, right? There might be an explosion of, super volcano. Lake Toba, right, is worrying to geologists, to scientists, because activities are happening right there. The Lake Toba's level of water is dropping, right? So it might be there is some cracks under it. I shared with you already. So hopefully, inshallah, we pray to Allah that there's no explosion. Okay, because if Lake Toba explodes, there goes Sumatra, Indonesia, Malaysia, of course, Singapore, Thailand, Burma, Myanmar, even to the extent of India, right to Pakistan, and might be Afghanistan. Australia will be affected, right? All the way to Papua New Guinea, Philippines will be wiped out. Yeah, all these sort of things will be gone. There will be tsunamis, hundreds of meters high, horrible. And the gas and the dust that will be produced from explosion of a super volcano will cool down the earth, because so much sulfur dioxide will be produced, and sulfur dioxide is a gas that will stop infrared from reaching the earth. So therefore we counterbalance the the level of carbon dioxide. We cool down the earth, and for all you know, the whole earth will be frozen over. So everything's a question mark in the future. We do not know, right? We can plan, but Allah knows better. So if we just a little bit of you know, movement of earth crust, everything can change. We are living on knife's edge. Just like, you know, Allah just give us a small preview. Nobody in 2019 expect a pandemic will happen in 2020. Nobody. And suddenly it appears. And suddenly, in very short period of time, the pandemic covers the whole of the earth. There's just a preview. Okay, so nothing is certain. Life is fragile, so we cannot be arrogant. But humans are arrogant. They treat the earth as if the earth is 100% for them, clear the forest as if that the forest is for them to exploit and for them to get rich. They don't care about other people. They just care about them, all these companies, and they just care about their profit line, profit margin, and their accounting, so forth. So, you know, I do not know whether humans are smart or whether humans are not that smart. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, right? We have covered all the scientific aspect, scientific point of view of the history of the earth. Next week onwards, we're going to move on to chapter 5. We're going to talk from the Islamic point of view. And then after that, we're going to see how these 2 points of view, the scientific and the religious point of view, we can somehow rather try to match them together. Okay, so let's see if there are any questions. If there's no question, I'm going to stop now. So, all right, so no question. Okay, so thank you very much. We end with Tasbih Kafara and Suratul Asr. Subhanakallah bika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal 'asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus solihat wa tawassaw bil haqq wa tawassaw bis sabr. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I see you next week.